everything to sine and cosine. Okay, so you tell me, right? Secant. Let's look at secant. What would you change secant into?
One over cosine.
Okay. All right. What would you like? What would you change tangent into?
Sine over cosine.
Sine or cosine. Okay. And there's already a sign there, an extra sign there, right? Like that. So you're just changing secant and then changing tangent. That's it, right? Okay. I'm gonna keep going. Okay, I'm gonna multiply these two things here. Okay, if I multiply, you get that? Yeah.
Can't you instead do 1 over cos minus? You can switch the tan to cotangent to 1 over cotangent, and then the cotangent to cosine over sine, so that eventually you can cos like kind of a.
They won't cancel. If you even if you change it to 1 over cotangent and cosine over sine, you still have to flip it, and it will still come out to be that. Yeah. This is easier actually. You'll see it right now. So we just got 2 more steps, and I think we're done. Okay. So my question to you is, I got 2 fractions here. Do we have the same denominator? Yes, right. We have the same denominator. Okay. So that means instead of having 2 fractions, I can just make it into 1. Right, I can make it into 1 fraction like that. All right. Okay, and let me put check mark again next to that statement. What is 1 minus sine square again?
Cosine squared.
Cosine square. Like that. Okay. So you got 2 cosine on the top, 1 cosine at the bottom. And we can get rid of one of them, and now you're done. So you have the other side, right? So we change, yeah, that first thing worked, right? We change everything to sine cosine. Okay, so that's 14. Able to answer a couple of them. Any other question on it? Yeah.
So on the practice quiz, can you go over number 11?
On the practice quiz, okay. Number 11. Okay. So number 11 on the practice quiz. Okay. So here is a practice quiz. So, Javad, 11, number 11 is very similar to 11 on this homework, right?
Yeah.
So what I would do, I would the only difference is instead of secant, you got cosine, right? Same fraction. So I would do this. I'll let you do it. Like, do that and then see if you get the answer. Right? But on the practice quiz, do you have any other questions on the practice quiz? Okay. Which one? 14. Okay. Okay. All right, 14. Yeah, let's see if we can finish it quick. Let me see your knowledge of identities. What is tangent square plus 1?
Secant squared.
Say it again, Surya?
Secant squared. Secant squared.
Secant square, yeah. That's one of the identities that you have to remember. 1 plus tangent square is secant square. Okay. Now, do you know what cosine square x minus 1 is? What is that? Maybe like does looking at this help? Check.
Isn't it the same as equals 1? Just with the
Negative sine squared.
Like if you, yeah, so if you, like this is, if you bring 1 over to the left and bring sine square to the other side, you'll have that, right? Okay, does that make sense? Like, maybe I'm going too fast. Like that. Okay, so cosine square x minus 1 is negative sine square. Yeah, we're almost done. This takes like 2 steps, I think. That's it. All right, so you can see I applied identities here. Now I know secant is 1 over cosine, so I know secant square is 1 over cosine square. So secant square is 1 over cosine square. That's secant square. Okay? Alright, so you get negative sine square over cosine square, right? And now we're done because what's sine over cosine?
Tangent.
Tangent. So if you have sine square over cosine square, that's tangent square. And now you're done. Alright. Okay, so that's cool. But I hope it's making sense though, right? Like if it's not, let me know. Okay, any other question? 13. Okay. Yeah, let's do 13. What time are we done?
57.
57. Okay, we have time. And this is a good question to end, maybe because this question is on, not this question, but a question very, very, very similar to this one is on the quiz. Okay? So, okay. All right. So 13. I'm gonna work on the left side. Okay, for 13. The first thing I'm gonna do is change everything to sine cosine. All right. So tangent, if I change it to sine cosine, it's sine x over cosine x. That's tangent. Okay. Cotangent, if I change that to sine cosine, it's cosine x over sine x. That's cotangent. Right? Like that. So I'm replacing both tangent and cotangent with sine and cosine. Okay. Now my question to you is this: are the denominators equal? Do we have same denominator? No, they're not, right? So when you're adding fractions, you need to have same denominators. Okay? So the denominators here are both cosine and sine. Okay, so if I want to add these fractions, I need to multiply the second fraction, this fraction, by cosine over cosine. Okay? Because I wanna add them, right? So I multiply by cosine over cosine, and then I need to multiply this other fraction, right? This one. What do you think I need to multiply this other fraction by? Sine over sine. Okay. So all I'm doing is just trying to get same denominator. That's it. Sine over sine. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's do it. So sine times sine is sine square. Right? Cosine times cosine is cosine square. Like that. Do we have same denominator now? Yeah, so I can combine the fractions. that. We're almost done. Alright. Now let me put a check next to an identity. What does that equal? 1. Sine square plus cosine square is 1, right? Okay, so we're almost done. Maybe I can show one more step. So you got 1 over sine, 1 over cosine. Okay, 1 over sine is cosecant, 1 over cosine is secant, and that's what you want on the other side, right? Cosecant and secant. Okay. So we just changed everything to sine cosine, added the two fractions, ended up using one more identity, and we got the other side. You said we're off at 56? 57. Okay, so we got 5 more minutes. Do you have any last minute questions here? On either side. Okay, let me do this real quick. Number 8.
My storage is crying.
On the same point. Okay, it says you're skiing down the mountain with a vertical height of 1500 and the base. The distance from top of the mountain to the base is 3000. Okay. What is the angle of elevation from the base to the top of the mountain? So here's a basic picture of number 8. And if I ask you what is that angle, and there's a question like that tomorrow, do you even need trig function for it? Do you need to use a calculator for it, or can you tell me what the answer is?
30.
Can you tell me what the answer is without a calculator or a trig function?
Yes.
What is the angle? What is that angle?
30.
No, you don't
Dog,
recognize
are you
it?
30?
30, yeah. Do you recognize this triangle? Right, remember there's a triangle that you gotta remember, for which the side is 1 and then hypotenuse is 2. The ratio between side and hypotenuse is 1 to 2. Same thing is happening here, 1 to 2. Okay, so if this is 30, then this angle has to be 30 also. And I didn't use any trig function, right? So that's the answer. Okay, so tomorrow watch out for a question like that. You won't have to use a calculator. Right? Okay. I don't have that paper.